Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tea Break English Club's podcast. I'm Cal,
And I'm Finn.
and today we're going to talk about the importance of conversation when learning a language. So, me and Finn were just talking before, and it's something we've both seen as people who have lived abroad and learned foreign languages. And there is kind of a classic case of a type of person who learns a language, they learn all the grammar, they work very hard um, on the rules and everything like this, but they're just not improving. And I think a conversation is the ability to have a conversation in a different language is a very good, is probably the ultimate marker of your ability in that language and your confidence to use that language. And no matter how good you are at the grammar or how well you understand, if you can't converse in your chosen language, it really feels like it's all for nothing.
Yeah, and it's something I see quite a lot on Instagram comments in the comment section. A lot of people say that they can understand everything that the person is saying or the teacher is saying, but they just don't know how to speak, or they feel like when they go to speak, they just can't put a sentence together, even though they can understand everything that they watch, listen to, or read.
Exactly. And I think the more perhaps you feel nervous or you feel like you don't want to speak because perhaps you feel like your level isn't good enough, the more you don't speak, the harder it's going to feel. So I guess the main aim of your English is to just start speaking. It doesn't matter if your grammar isn't all there at first. It doesn't matter if you make some mistakes, but have to you have to speak, or else you won't improve. And on our time, the time me and Finn spent abroad in Brazil learning Portuguese, you'd meet some other international students who are there in the same position, also trying to learn Portuguese. And they would say things like, I just don't know why my Portuguese isn't improving. I've been here for 3 months and it hasn't improved at all. And the answer seemed quite obvious. It was, you just need to start, you just need to talk. And the difference was very clear between people who surrounded themselves with other people who spoke their own language and those who really just got involved and tried their best to speak as much as possible.
Yeah, I think there was some of us that went to all of the classes, kind of studied hard, maybe went to the library or tried to do extra reading, things like that. So a lot of reading, textbook language, trying to learn sort of on our own almost. And you compare that to, well, you, Cal, no offense, but your attendance was pretty abysmal. But you spent a lot of time with people and talking to people and just having informal conversations all day, every day. And your Portuguese was just far better than the rest of ours. So it really goes to show that that's where you make the biggest improvements. So you can improve by reading and doing all of the grammar, but the amount that you improve by every day or every session is just far lower than speaking, just having conversations.
Yeah, and I think the conversation as well is it's not solely a one-way thing. So of course you are speaking yourself, and that's the thing most language learners tend to focus on. It's the kind of use of language, the kind of output. But of course a conversation is between two or more people, so half of it is understanding and being able to sort of digest what the other person is saying to you. So you're using both receptive skills and production skills, productive skills. So I think the importance of a conversation is kind of like huge, and it's often overlooked. It's kind of, because of its seeming like informality, it's often overlooked, but I really believe it's the most accessible and the most one of the most valuable things you can do when you're learning a language.
Yeah, underrated almost.
Underrated, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we have kind of made a bit of an update, a bit of an upgrade, a big update to the club. We have now got a booking system for classes. So you pay each month for, so it's $4 per class, and you can pay for one class per week, 2 classes per week, or up to 5 classes per week. And then once you've paid, you get access to the link to book the classes, and you can just choose whichever class you want. We've got more classes as well. We've shortened them to 45 minutes to make them a little bit more concise. An hour can be a very long time for thinking and concentrating. So we made them a little bit shorter, but that means that we can have a lot more of them now.
Yeah, so I think apart from the time, I think one of the biggest changes is, instead of one session per day, 5 days a week, we're using a calendar where we have way more options available, and all you have to do is go in and book which conversation you want to take part in. And it's really nice because you can see who's already booked in. You can see maybe some of your friends who you enjoy chatting with, and it's really nice. And as we're talking before about the importance and maybe how the conversation can be overlooked, I think it's because if you're living in the country where you can have a conversation in your target language, they're very accessible. You can just, if you want to, go to a bar and chew someone's ear off. You can just talk to someone. It can happen in the street. It can happen if you're buying a ticket for the metro or a bus, or doing your weekly shop. There's conversations arise naturally all the time. But if you're learning English remotely from a different country, where the chances of having a conversation with a native speaker are very, very small, this is such a great opportunity to be able to do that. You can have a conversation with Finn and myself every single day, 2 native speakers, and over 45 minutes, it's the same amount of time you may spend in a cafe, or have your lunch. And it's really nice. You can log on at any time of the day. It's usually lunchtime or evening. And yeah, we think it's a nice time, maybe after work or during a lunch break, to have a conversation in English.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned before was about mistakes. And the thing is, everybody makes mistakes. It doesn't matter how good you are at the language, you will make mistakes. So you you might as well just start as soon as you can in your English journey and make those mistakes, because that's how you'll learn, how you'll progress.
Yeah, I think fear of mistakes can be one of the most detrimental obstacles in your English journey. It's kind of like the fear of making mistakes can stop you from trying, and the more scared you are of mistakes, the less you want to talk, and this fear can kind of grow and grow. And because obviously everyone, or a lot of people, would love the end goal. They see themselves as being perfect. They want their fluency to be perfect. And so a lot of people have this weird kind of, and it's normal, I say weird, because it doesn't necessarily make logical sense, but there's this feeling of only wanting to apply their language, only wanting to talk when they feel they have conquered certain obstacles like grammar, and when they feel like they won't make mistakes. It's maybe part of this conditioning from regular schooling, where you have a test. And in languages, certainly in the UK, there's always the dreaded speaking test. And before a speaking test, which was usually just a 10-minute conversation, you would study and study and strive for perfection. And it might be pre-rehearsed, and you might have written a script to remember. And I think this kind of concept might stick with a lot of people after school. And really, the best way is to just constantly and always talk. And that's really the way to improve.
Yeah, because even if you don't know how to say something, you don't have maybe you don't have a particularly large vocabulary, but you can describe things. You don't need to memorize the word for absolutely everything. As long as you can have a basic understanding of how to explain different things, then you can get by, essentially. And that's all you need to do in a conversation, is get by, and for them to understand what you are trying to say, and then for you to understand them. And then that's when you can really introduce your personality as well, and that's when you start making friends, and then you build those relationships and have these conversations a lot more of the time.
Exactly. And for those of you interested in conversations, it's worth remembering that Finn and I are both language learners ourselves. So we've been in the same position as you guys. We're going to be patient. We're going to understand when you're describing a word perhaps more than other people would. And we're gonna be trying to help and to understand and guide you as much as possible. We have the benefit of we both understand Spanish and Portuguese, so there are some learners where perhaps they could say the word if they're not sure in their own language, and we could say it, but the majority speak languages that Finn or myself would have no idea, and they've developed great skills of being able to perhaps describe a word, or describe the situation or the feeling, and that itself is a great language skill, and that's a skill that comes with conversation and not being afraid to not know.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth saying as well that we do corrections as well. We're not very harsh. It's not like we say, no, you're wrong. But in the Discord channel, we write down a lot of the mistakes, the common mistakes, and just little things to remember, little tips and tricks with pronunciation as well. And then at the end of the week, we do a post with just the most common mistakes from throughout the week from the conversation classes. So you're not just trying to speak and making mistakes and then not knowing what's wrong, especially if you are unsure about a word. We will make sure that we find the right word for you.
Yeah, of course. It's not like we sit there with a book of questions and just ask a rigid conversation as a way of kind of assessing. Of course, people come and ask us questions during the conversation classes. It's always a pleasure to answer them. And yeah, everyone seems to have quite a lot of fun during them. And certainly, I think we both enjoy them very much. Aside from the fact that you guys are learning and improving your English, it is genuinely nice to get to know each other and to have a chat about anything. I think I've had conversations from makeup to economics, so it's certainly quite a fun experience as well.
Yeah, we always go down different rabbit holes. Someone starts talking about something and yeah, we end up on a very small particular niche topic. Yeah, but it's also a cultural exchange as well. So having people from all over the world means that we get to learn about different cultures and different ways of life in countries that we would otherwise know nothing about.
Yeah, it's really nice, and I can see that a lot in some of our students as well. They seem to very much enjoy that aspect of it, and it is very rewarding. And we also keep a list of vocab that we have been asked about or has been used in the conversations, and we put the vocab in the Discord afterwards, so you guys can make notes and remember however you prefer to do it. And it's always quite funny for me when I see some of the words that Finn is putting in the Discord, because I get an idea of what he's talking about, and it's quite funny thinking, oh, I guess Finn's talking about the skincare routine today.
Yeah, you can see how the conversation has developed and how has it gone from skincare to politics.
Yeah, but I think that's conversations. I think we've spoken about why they're important, how you can use them to improve your English, the importance to not be scared of making mistakes, and what we offer, which is an amazing service to our own trumpet, but $4 per class, with native speakers who are here to guide you and help you and answer your questions, and just improve and accelerate your English.
Yeah, and with a maximum of 5 people in each class as well. So I know a lot of the time conversation classes can have a lot of people, or just live classes in general can have a lot of people, and that doesn't really give you the opportunity to speak or to speak a lot, to go back and forth. You might have the chance to say something and then just listen to everyone else, but with a maximum of 5 people, that means that you have a proper conversation.
yeah, everyone is involved in the conversations. Everyone has a chance to speak. It's always very nice. So
Yeah.
I think that's about covered, Finn.
Yeah, I think we've promoted it as much as we can. So if you're interested, the link is in the description down below, and you'll see the different membership options. There's a free trial as well, so you don't want to pass up on that.
No, everyone likes a freebie. So yeah, join Tea Break English Club and start chatting with us and everyone else who is already a member. So,
and don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, then we have a glossary and a quiz for free for this episode, so that you can learn all of the words that we have said, all of the difficult and advanced words, and a quiz, just a listening practice to test your listening skills. So again, the same link down below to head to our With Me page, not Patreon anymore. We have changed platforms to With Me. So head to our new platform and check it out.
great. It's been a pleasure as always, Finn.
Pleasure as always. See you next
See you
week.
next week. Whoa. Bye.
Bye-bye.